All right, guys, welcome to the chat. We are live. A bunch of you are already in here. I love seeing that. I just love coming into a room that's already happening. Janet's sitting over here. You can't hear her or see her, but you can feel her mere presence. Time change. By the way, if you guys are not here, it's because you didn't set your clock. You probably don't have an iPhone or something, because this morning we woke up and said, "What time is it?" We asked Alexa, and Alexa said it wasn't like 6 o'clock. And we said, "Is it 7 o'clock and really 6 o'clock, or 6 o'clock and really 7?" We had no idea. So again, then you have to run around the house and find like an old watch, because we all have I've got my Apple Watch, and you just don't know. So anyway, guys, I'm so glad you're here. I want to show you something before I do anything else, and that is on the site. Shameless plug here, robertcabral.com. I just put a brand new section up. And this section is something like you've never seen before. I've got to turn off, well, I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to show you something in the site here that I think is super, super cool. And if you go here, why isn't it showing up here? When I did it over here, it worked. Let me see here. Let me see if I do it here. No, it's not working. Oh, okay, guys, bear with me. Well, I'm a little bit stupid here. I don't want current application. I want to show you primary display. There. So this is a new section that we just put into the member section. So if you are just wanting to check out how I'm working with a dog progressing along, I've had these two dogs, Max and Ziggy. Ziggy is on the left here. Max is on the right. And you'll see that Ziggy is a high drive Malinois, Max is a low drive Akita. And what I do here is I take every single very first day, the very second day, how I teach the dogs, how I introduce things to the dog, the sits, the downs, the stands, the engagement, the socialization, the basic training, corrections, how do we feed the dog, how do we engage it, how do we introduce the dog to other dogs. All that's going to be covered. And now we're up to lesson 4 for Max. Lesson 4 for Ziggy is still to come. I'm doing this also for my YouTube channel, so you'll see it there. But it's a super, super, super cool feature that I think is going to make a big, big difference on how you guys train your dogs. Because people always say, "Well, I don't know what do you start? Like, what's the very, very first things you do?" And now you're going to be able to see that. You're going to be able to see day one, what's the very first thing I would do when I first see a dog, and how do I work the dog through their issues? Because all dogs have issues. And when you see me working with Goofy and Maya, you probably think, well, we missed a few weeks or a few months or a few years here and there, but that's not going to be the case in this series. And it's a very, very unique series. I've seen some people do something similar on YouTube, and I thought this would be a really, really great thing. Especially, I think the most important part of this, guys, is that I'm showing you the difference between a very high drive, biddable, fun, engaging dog like a Malinois, compared to a very slower, more stubborn at times, slower to learn dog like an Akita. And there's plenty of those dogs that fall in. Every single dog will fall somewhere in there or in between them. So you'll learn a lot, and you'll see my difference in approaching, for example, maybe much harder corrections on a dog like an Akita, because it's a very stubborn, very dominant dog. And people always say, "Well, what do you do about that?" Well, here's what I do about it. So let's get started. I know you guys are here for the questions, but look, Anthony's there. He just said hi to you. Good to see all you guys. I'm probably not going to get to all your questions. I would ask you one huge favor. They got 87 people. It's not really that many. Usually we're at about 100 by now, but it doesn't matter. I'm just glad you're here. And it's a time change. You guys probably don't even know you're probably going to wake up to know that you missed this. What I would ask you to do, please, if you have not already done so, subscribe to this channel, and most importantly, hit the notification bell, because I just noticed on YouTube that's a really weird thing. If you don't hit the notification bell, you don't get notified. You're subscribed, but you're not getting notified once new things come up. And I've subscribed to some people now because I'm practicing guitar. Janet will tell you that it's not very pleasant to listen to always, but but I'm trying to learn. So when I go to their channels and I hit the subscribe button, I'm subscribed, but I don't get notified of the new things. So please hit that bell. I don't know why YouTube does it, but I think it's a good idea. So, and the other rule here is got to have a question mark before the question. Otherwise, I will completely blow by it. It's going to be too many. Oh, football game. Oh, I didn't even know that. It's either church or football. So Garrett, you're going to get the first question here, my friend. It says, at what age do you recommend starting to correct a puppy? I know you focus on shaping and luring behaviors with a puppy, but at what age can they handle a pop on the collar, for example? So that is probably one of the best questions that I've gotten. Well, it's the first one I've gotten, so it's not the best one, but it's a great question overall. Puppies, you can't correct a dog for something that he doesn't know is wrong. That's critical to understand. Now, the only exception to that is aggression. Because aggression is something that the dog should innately know not to do. But if the dog is, you're telling him sit and he's downing, and you're telling him down and he's sitting, and you're telling him to stay and he's leaving, those are all things you need to work through and you need to proof them. So there's a video that I'm putting up. Did I put it up? No, I'm still editing it. It's way coming with Max, where Max knows down and Max is being stubborn. And you were there, we were up at Trancas. And I told Max down, and Joey told Max down, he wouldn't go down, and he was being obstinate. And we corrected him, and he was screaming and flailing around and throwing a fit, and that's just what some dogs will do. And he was trying to bite and all these things, so we kept at it. I'm gonna leave that in for the members. I probably won't leave it in for all the YouTube people. I'll leave part of it in because YouTube gets some animal nutcases who are gonna start saying how abusive things are. But at that point, the dog had been training with me for close to 6 months. And he knows what I want, but he's not going to do it. And the dog is going to test you. And a more stubborn breed and a dominant breed, like an Akita or a Shar Pei, a Chow, a Rottweiler, these dogs will test you. So when it comes to that phase, we know the dog knows what we want. He's being a jerk. He's going to get a correction. But luring and shaping is critical for getting a few months in. Now, Jan's got a question for me here. Okay, did not put a question mark, mellow mood. You got to put question marks, please. Hey, Robert, general tips on my Cane Corso in apartment with 4-year-old. My dog is 8 months old and he's doing really well. Heels well, basic obedience, recall well on a 50-foot leash grade. Well, so anything you're going to do with your dog on what? Oh, it continues. When should I anticipate changes to his behavior? A lot of people are telling me to watch out for the 18-month mark. Yeah, the 18-month mark is always my mark because that's when the dog goes from being a puppy to being an adolescent and is going to start testing you. Now, Corsos in general, Corsos are good with kids. Now, a lot of the other Molisters might not be, but Corsos I know are good with kids. I mean, Oscar has one. He's had it with his kids. Benny is a great dog. I've seen Benny a bunch of times. They're very sensitive dogs. People don't get that about Corsos. They're very sensitive to their handlers. Like if you yell at them and stuff, they get really nervous and stuff like that. What I would really do is make sure that dog knows your child comes first. Make sure the dog knows a place command. Make sure the dog knows. He might know all the obedience in the world, but he has not to behave in a house. And that's something that all our dogs know really well how to do. Like we do not allow playing in the house, roughhousing the house, running around the house, nothing. That is immediately shut down because they need to know to be calm in the house. And when the dog knows that and sees the child around, you're not going to have an issue with it. Beatriz, I think. There's one of two. So you got it in two. So I guess you guys are learning to do two different question marks. One is a question is a long one, but it's hard for me to get to that many questions. Well, let me start here. 3-year-old Husky Pit mix, leash reactive, out of frustration, fine off leash. Trainer suggests level 30 e-collar corrections. Training level is 7 to 8 when reacting to dogs while on a non-focus heel leash. Well, should we continue this? It appears to tone down reaction, but dog still looks and breathes heavy while walking past it. Yeah, I would, if that's what your trainer is recommending, if that's the level, I mean, it takes a higher level, 7 to 8, and I'm assuming you're using probably a Dogtra or an e-collar technologies box. You definitely, with that reactivity, you want to come on top of it. You don't want to come underneath it and frustrate the dog. Because if you're at a 7 and 8 working level on the dog with the collar, and then you might go to a 15, it might just make it worse for the dog. So if this is what's coming on top and stopping the dog, I would listen to your trainer on that one. I don't think he's steering you wrong at all on that. So good job. Let's see. Vidmar, Nick is here. Oscar whines all the time. I tried to redirect his attention to something else. He does it when he's not interacting with me. How can I help him? What should I do? We do a lot together. Whining is an issue that's really genetic in the dog. And I don't say that lightly because I have a dog here who whines a lot, Maya. And it's really annoying. The more you make an issue out of it, the worse it gets. You know, I mean, I'll just tell her, hey, knock it off, or hey, and give a little kind of a sound that makes her stop. And then if she can kind of work her way out of it, she does. If I stay on top of it, if she keeps doing it and I keep pressuring her, then it'll never shut down. So it's just something you're going to be living with. I hate to tell you that. This is one thing you're not going to just, there's no magic bullet for it. If there was, well, there's a magic bullet. That's not a good way to say that. It's just, you're going to just be dealing with it. Marley, the pit bull mix, doesn't have an 11-week-old Malinois cross Dutch Shepherd. Well, you might need to get a different name, Marley, the pit bull mix. That's not Dutch Shepherd. It's all going great besides the leash walking. He will only walk up and down the driveway, but will refuse to go on the street. Please help. Well, this is one of those situations where you gotta, there's not an option, right? You don't give them the option on this one. You just take them just take them. That's it. You know, maybe make something really nice happen at the end of it, you know, but that's something you're gonna have to work on. Now, what I would caution you on with an 11-week-old puppy is make sure the dog's had all the shots, because distemper and parvo can live in organic manner for months, and I've heard even up to years. So be super careful that the dog is vaccinated against, especially distemper and parvo. Those are your two big ones, right? J-Rod. Isn't there a famous athlete named J-Rod, or? Oh, that's A-Rod. That's to show you why I'm not watching football. And A-Rod is a baseball player. A-Rod's a baseball player. All right, J-Rod, close to A-Rod. 5.5-month-old intact male pup at dog park, very submissive, high energy, recently started getting bullied and aggressively pinned down consistently by dogs. How would you manage to prevent injury-free fighting? J-Rod, never go to dog parks. I'm not even going to address the question. Never, ever go to dog parks. End of discussion. Why? Janice will tell you why. Why is because it's not a matter of if something bad is going to happen to your dog. It's a matter of when something bad is going to happen to your dog. And every dog is going to have a bad experience at some point in a dog park. You don't know who's there. You don't know the temperaments, the personalities, the drives, the behaviors, the history of any of these dogs. And your dog is going to get bullied, or it's going to bully somebody. It's going to get attacked, or it's going to attack somebody. There's no reason to take your dog to a dog park. Walk your dog, run your dog, train your dog, live with your dog. End of discussion. Dog parks, worst thing you'll probably do for your dog. Polaris says, follow your training of recall, how to transition from come without staying to come and sit. Simple. Once the dog is crystal clear on the command of come, then you just add the sit in. It's as simple as that. I don't let it become a predictive behavior. In other words, when I call my dogs, even in training, it's come and we're going to do something. Come and we're going to do something. When it's come to a static, like come to a sit or a down or a heel or whatever, that's boring for the dog, and then the dog will start to not want to do it. By the way, this shirt here, remember how everybody loved this shirt? I never made this shirt in yellow, this design. I just made it for myself because I didn't think people would want to buy it. But if you go over to the shop, there's a link in this video description right below. There's a coupon code. Can you see that coupon in the description? Can you read it off? I forget what it is. I'm letting Janet look at it. I'm launching these yellow Malinois logo shirts today, and you can get, I think, 15% off or something, isn't it? Oh, Janet can't see it. If you guys can see it in the description below, there it is, right? 15. What's the code? RC15. How can you forget that? RC15. Order yourself a really cool brushstroke Malinois shirt. Okay, so that's Polaris. Chris Wong. Hey, Rob, any tip how to recall a hunting dog at extreme distances, like a mile away or so? Well, start with short distances, right? Start with, maybe 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards. But the one thing I would tell you, if you have a hunting dog, is I would use a whistle for a recall. Mondio Ring and Hunting uses whistles for recalls. And the dog, I think, has an easier time hearing it. It's a super high pitched. It'll travel a long distance. What was the question? Oh, why is he a mile away? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, a mile away, I think maybe you're exaggerating this. I mean, a mile away, you wouldn't see the dog, right? Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, some of the Spaniels, well, a lot of those dogs are on GPS collars. And in fact, I was just talking with Jay this morning in Africa. He's there. These dogs would get, far away and stuff too. So if the dog's that far away and you don't have a GPS collar on your dog, you're setting your dog up for failure because you don't know what's going to happen. But I'm kind of assuming that this mile thing is a little bit far-fetched. I'm telling Janet's sitting right here. I think it's probably far-fetched. So yeah, it's not a mile. Okay, there you go. Yeah, but a whistle is a good idea. Get yourself a good whistle. Jason says, I'm using your online training. She knows sit, stand, down, place. We are starting on focus heel. My question is how many or what other things can I train with that, since that could take a while? Well, you really have to think about what your dog really needs to know. Every dog should have a basic recall, a basic stay, and a basic leave it. That's it. Now from there, with the focus heel, you can do motion exercises, you can do retrieves, you can do a million things. But the focus heel is a really nice thing to teach your dog. But look, if you go to my member section, if you're a member on my I don't know whether it's my online YouTube or my online actual member section, just look at all my videos. There's God, hundreds of videos of different things you can teach your dog in different ways. Okay, Stacy, you're having your Doberman trained for 10 weeks after his first 8 weeks. Is the transfer to my leadership or difficult? I think we've got a language thing here. I'm training my Doberman trained for 10 weeks after his first 8 weeks. Does that make sense to you?
So when he's 8 weeks old, he's going away for 10 weeks.
Got it.
And she must have wondered if the dog will respond.
True, when she comes back. Well, there's a transitionary period, right? The dog is trained by a person. Dogs become conditioned to do things. Like I can get a dog to do things that an owner might not be able to get the dog to do. But if the owner learns the way I got the dog to do it and learns that same intonation and stuff like that, then yeah, I don't think it's a problem at all. Yeah. Okay, this one here, I just saw Chad. Chad, you did not put a question mark. Got a question with sheepdog. Herding, jumping, nipping at 10-year-old boy. He just won't leave the kid alone. Not mean, but big dog and jumps and nips all the time. And it's like a pinch, it hurts. Well, Chad, unless you're that 10-year-old boy, you need to stop that, right? This is what people always say. They go, how do I get my dog to stop? Well, you stop him. You prevent him from doing it. You put him on a leash and you correct him. When he does it, you tell him, hey, knock it off. You correct the dog. You must step in and physically make the dog do what you want him to do. This is critical because a dog picking on a boy like this, that's not fair to a 10-year-old boy, especially a big sheepdog. Control this dog. Tell him to sit, and if he goes to jump at that boy, you correct that dog. That's your son or whoever it is. I don't know who it is, but you got to get in that. If my dog was doing that, it'd take his head off. I mean, I'm being very serious about this. You need to make sure that the dog is not allowed to do that. And it shouldn't be emotional. It shouldn't yell at the dog. Shouldn't be mean to the dog. But just stop the behavior. Put him on a leash and say, hey, knock it off. And that's it. Okay, Garrett's saying hi to you. Irene Vitruk says, in general, is it easier to get a puppy and start from ground zero or to adopt an adult dog that needs to be retrained? There's no right answer to that. Neither one. It doesn't matter. It depends on the dog, really. Some people like to get, Avi likes to get a dog that's kind of, more adolescent, 12 to 18 months. So a lot of people like to do that. If they're doing sports like hunting, IPO, ring sports, stuff like that, they want to get a dog that's already, that has the temperament for it and then start training it. I like puppies. I mean, I hate puppies, but I like puppies. I like that whole bonding phase. I like the way they grow into the house, into the pack and stuff like that. So it really doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. It's going to depend what if you like puppies, get puppies. My thoughts on Caucasian Shepherd and what kind of people are suitable for them. Caucasian Shepherd is a very dominant dog. It's a very hard, strong, dominant, like a livestock breed, like a guarding dog and stuff like that. It's not a dog I would get. And I'm not saying, and please don't criticize me for saying that. There's a lot of dogs I wouldn't get. It doesn't mean they're bad dogs. It just means that I don't have the patience for them. Like Bijans, I wouldn't get a Bijan. Yeah, the average person doesn't need the average person doesn't need a lot of dogs, but anyway. Nino, thanks a lot for the live. Well, you're welcome. I'm going to start doing more of these for members. I'll probably do one a month for YouTube and probably do a couple a month for members. If you decide to join my member section, you get a lot more of me. Not as much as Janet gets, but a lot more. You wouldn't want this much anyway. It's annoying. How to train my 6-month-old Mali Roddy mix from not chasing my son, 10-year-old, and not bite. Please help, please. Well, okay, so a couple things. One is your puppy, 6-month-old Mally, is a high drive, intense dog mixed with a Rottie. It's going to probably be, just as probably to take a little bit of the edge off because Rotties aren't as intense as Malinois. But you had the child because he's 10. So 9.5 years into having a child, you decided to get this dog. Now, maybe you weren't aware of what would happen. You should have done the research. I'm not criticizing you at all, okay? But let me tell you this. You must crate this dog. You must train this dog. You must teach this dog his off switch. I would suggest you go into my member section and spend the $15 a month and learn step by step what you need to do with this dog. I mean, you can do it here on YouTube, not a big deal. It's a little bit more organized and the lessons are a lot fuller in my member section. I don't do the YouTube just to get people to my member section. I do this as a public service so people get information, but you need to impose massive amounts of structure onto your puppy because you need to protect your dog. It's not going to be funny when the dog is 18 months old and biting your son. And probably he won't. Probably he's just a puppy doing what puppies do. And your son you need to have a talk with your son too. Hey, don't run around when the dog is out because that's going to initiate his prey drive. So think about that. Okay, Nessa says, can you use a bar collar on a 5-month-old puppy who barks at everything during car rides? I wouldn't. It's too early. If you condition the dog to it, yes, but a 5-month-old puppy, I would not. I really would not. Too early. Okay, I'm going to answer this because I read the word disabled vet, so you automatically caught my attention, my sympathy, because anybody who fought for this country, you get first rights on questions. I tie my dog on a line to potty. He goes crazy when I take off in my car, choking himself to get to me. How can I stop this? I'm a disabled vet. I tie my dog on a line to potty. He goes crazy when I take off in my car, choking himself. Why would he take off?
I think he's tying his dog up when he leaves.
Oh, maybe you're tying your dog up when you leave.
Have a fenced-in yard.
Yeah, I'm not big on tethering dogs. You can have a lot of disasters can happen with tethering dogs. Dogs can choke themselves. Dog can pull their way out. I would really try as best as you can to try to find it somewhat. Maybe somebody can help you build a little fence in your yard. You really got. I'm not big on tethering dogs. I can't give you advice on it because it's not something I would do. So I can't tell you the right way to do something that I wouldn't do. So thank you for your service, by the way. And I'm sure you're a veteran. You should be able to find some people. If you lived around here, I'd help you build a fence. I really would, just based on that. But see if you can get some people just to help you build a little fenced-in area for your dog, a little run, because it'll be a lot safer for your dog and a lot better for you. You'll feel much better. Mega. MEGA. Best way to provide structure to a 10-week-old German Shepherd while still allowing it to be a pup. Man, you know what? That's a question that could be a 10-hour discussion. Just train him. Do what I do in all my videos and all my lessons. That's it. Oh, thank you, Alan, for putting that. That's the link to the puppy series. I don't know if people can read Alan's thing there. Alan, maybe put it in the description so people can see it. Which one? Nick and Michelle Frey? Oh, Rick and Michelle Frey. I have an 11-month-old female German Shepherd that barks and jumps every time someone comes over. How can I get her to not do that? It's really funny is a lot of these questions, as you know, are so repetitive. I've answered them countless times. If I haven't answered that question 100 times in the last 10 years, then I've never answered it. And what I always tell you guys to do is put the dog in a crate. When people come over to the house, when you first have a puppy, the puppy must be in a crate. Right? The puppy must see that people can come and go as they please because you don't want the puppy nipping at their jeans or their shoes or peeing on them or humping them or running up to them or anything like that. So the more the puppy sees that it's real normal for people to come over, come and go and do all that, the easier it becomes for the dog. So that's what you're going to have to do. That's it. Okay, I'm only taking, thanks Anthony, says in delay, it looks great. Okay, Martina says, and this is the first one with a question, now they get a whole bunch of questions after this. I guess you guys are catching on. Martina says, neighbors' dogs are regularly barking at my puppy for no obvious reason. Since he was 7 weeks old, he's 5.5 months old now, and they are still at it with no corrections from the owners. Redirection tips, please. this is, my dad said the wisest thing to me when I bought my first and only house I ever bought in my life. And he said, it's better to have a bad year in business than a bad neighbor, because a bad neighbor you can never fix, right? And so you're facing that. You need to put your dog to a different area of your yard. Maybe you put him on the other side where the neighbors aren't such dopes. If he's in the backyard, then I would probably find a way to fence off an area that allows that a distance between the dogs and your dog, because it's not something you can fix. Right? It's just not something you can fix. You're not going to want to start spraying their dogs with a hose, because you're going to get in trouble. You're going to cause more problems in your relationship with your neighbors than anything else. Mel says, my German Shepherd pit mix, 1 year, 2 months, has been raised with my close family with frequent visits. She has episodes of barking out of fear at 2 members of what seems out of random. Any thoughts? I don't know my thought would be the dog is maybe just a little bit nervous of those people, suspicious and suspect. So I think the best thing you can do with the dog is when those people are over, put the dog in a really pleasurable situation, either on a down or on a sit with the owner there. And the people should just ignore the dog. If the people are starting to do things like, oh, no, it's okay, and trying to pet the dog and trying to put pressure on the dog, whether it's just even giving affection or petting, that can confuse the dog. There should be no interaction between the people and the dog, right? Because when the dog sees that pressure is gone, then that relieves the pressure from the dog. So that's first things I would do. Georgios says, which is better, a 3.2 prong collar and remove links, or a 2.25 millimeter and add links? I have a German Shepherd with a neck circumference of 18 inches. Well, an 18-inch circumference, that's about like Maya, so I would use the smaller. But you have to remember there's a 2.25, then there's a 3, and then there's a 3.25. There's another size in there. The 3.25 is a big, I wouldn't use that prong collar unless that dog was like a big Mastiff or a Borbal or something like that. For a German Shepherd, I would use the 2.25. I would add the links in, and I would always use a backup collar. Maja. I think it's Maja. I have German Shepherd. Only problem is that he don't listen so much when other dogs or cats are close to him. He is trained to be a social with other animals. With no leash, he run to play. How to stop it? Well, first of all, you need to have him on a leash, right? Because if you can't control him, you must have a tool that's going to let you control the dog. Like a long line, that's what I would use. You can even use one of these, like a long line like this. Actually, Alan, we need to put these on the site. These are actually long lines that are slip leads, which is one of the things I love to have. These are made by my friend Brian at Dynamic Lead. I would really work on controlling the dog. You have to expose and control, and prevent failure. That's it. Okay. Who's the best alpha? What's the best mental physical stimulation exercise you can teach your dog, in your opinion? That is obedience. Because obedience makes the dog mentally more tired than physically, but mental exertion is much harder on any animal than physical exertion. So yeah, I would do good obedience, good structured, good training. Physical thing I only do with my dogs. I take them out for a walk in the morning. I do treadmill 3 or 4 days a week. But for the most part, it's all obedience and, obedience, chase the ball, obedience, play tug, obedience, chase the ball, obedience, tug, whatever it is. That's it. What's this? The half check collar is a great tool for guide dogs, etc., due to self-correction. Why is the collar perceived as aversive? Maybe you mean a martingale, but check chain usually refers to a choke chain. So I don't know what you mean the half check, but I'm assuming you mean a martingale because it doesn't check all the way. The animal rights people are often so aversive and so negative to the development and the behavior and the relationship of humans and their dogs that it's disturbing. I don't care what people see as aversive or not. You know what I see as aversive is people who emotionally abuse their dogs by not training them, by yelling at them, by giving them commands that the dog has no idea about. So don't worry about what people think. I'm telling you something. This is the only thing I ever say that's political. Vote for people that will not inhibit your freedom with your animal, right? If you want your freedoms to be taken away and whatever, that's cool. I don't care about that. But the people who are going to get into office and take away e-collars, prong collars, choke chains, crate training, and all this stuff, and it's coming. They will try. They did it in several European countries. They're doing it in Australia. They're doing it in, they're trying to do it in England. They've done it in Wales. So I'm telling you something, don't, be strong on this, because when they say, oh, we just want to ban e-collars, no, they don't. They're going for everything. They're going for all the marbles. Anurag says, leash reactivity issues and sudden plunges to go meet other dogs, 18-month-old Labrador. Well, that generally comes from letting your dog meet too many dogs, right? So that's because the dog is just trying to get there, trying to get there. And eventually, maybe you give in and let them go. So my thing is, my dogs don't meet any other dogs, right? Because they don't need, there's nothing positive that will come from meeting another dog. If I let my dog go up and meet another dog in the street and they sniff, 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 and then eventually I have to go, come on, let's go, come on, let's go, and I'm yanking the dog away, that's negative to the dog, right? Why are you yanking me away from this dog? If they go and sniff, 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 and the other dog nips at them, then that's negative. So nothing positive will come of it. It's not like that experience suddenly is going to transform my dog. For a dog to be social, that's what people always talk about. You need to socialize your dog. For a dog to be social, the dog needs to accept other animals, dogs and people, in their presence, and not interfere with it, not play with them, not attack them, nothing. So that's what you need to focus on. And then here we got Alfred Mendoza. Got so many questions. I don't know if we're going to get to all these questions today. How do I stop a 9-month-old puppy to stop biting the rope that's attached to the toy? That's going to be a maturity issue, right? That just take the rope off the toy for now is what I would do. Cyber Mech Engine. What about trying to prevent puppy from going after something he shouldn't, like eating? You shouldn't eat, like turkey poop. Well, puppies, you need to keep them on a leash. You need to keep them on a leash to teach them those things. You have to prevent your dog from you have to prevent your dog from failing. You have to prevent your dog you have to help your dog to succeed. And by keeping him on a leash, keeping him structured, keeping him under your watchful eye, it's going to do that. Ivan says, any tips on making a walk not exciting thing for a dog? He gets so pumped up for it. How to make it less fun and exciting? He is constant prey drive, excited. Well, one thing you can do is you can make the walk more about you. Right? I would really consider watching my video, and I've got one on YouTube and one on my member section on teaching your dog not to pull on a leash. You have to engage the dog to you. You have to be the most interesting thing on the dog's walk. That's it. But if you're trying to make the walk more boring, that's impossible, because there's smells and sights and sounds and everything all around the dog. It just needs to be kind of geared back towards you. Janita Hutchinson says, my Malinois seems to lose all control when a motorcycle goes past. Training goes out the window. I use a prong, but still lunges and barks. Any advice? 14 months old. Yeah. This is probably one of the most common things I hear about with high drive dogs, like Malinois, German Shepherds, Dutch Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans, Pits, Border Collies. Any dog that has a high degree of prey drive, when they see things moving, whether that's a bicycle, a car, a tractor, a motorcycle, a shopping cart, anything, it triggers their prey drive. So you need to take the dog at a distance. You need to. These are the times where you got to be creative, right? So the answer I'm going to give you is going to be something where you say, well, that's too complicated. And that's what you'd pay a professional to do. That's what a professional trainer would do with your dog. He would take the dog at a distance from the road and let these things happen and would correct them. Because when you have the dog in the zone, quote unquote, right? When the dog is in that triggered zone where he's reacting, you're not going to correct him. You're going to have to beat up your dog to get him to do anything. And that's horribly unfair. And you don't want to do that. So you need to remove the distance, remove the stimulus, place it at a greater distance, and then bring it in as the dog is under more control. But your basic obedience is going to, help for that. Chris here has got a question. It says, a lot of trainers recommend to hand feed the dogs their meals for training. How long do you normally do this for if training to a high standard working dog standard all their life? No, not all their life. You don't do it all their life. People often give advice and then they don't give an end picture. Like I always say, tree train should last for about a year, and then you use it as an intermittent reinforcer, but you don't use it every single time. Like I don't use treats or toys every single time I ask my dog to do something. But usually if I'm going out to train, I have treats and toys with me. So hand feeding is a good thing to do for the first, I would say, few months. You're going to get the dog at 8 weeks. Maybe you're going to do it for 2 months or so, maximum. And then from there, you might use it for tracking or training or anything like that. But it's a very good question, by the way, Chris. Don't feel bad that you asked and that I laughed. Sane says, I have a 10-month-old Rottweiler. I train IGP. When would you recommend to start jumping? Well, I would start jumping now. I would start jumping right away. But what you're going to want to do is and at 10 months, the dog is already starting to get in good shape for jumping. But what I would do is just have a low, like on the high jump, just take the boards out and just have him doing like up to his knees, just so he's starting to get into that picture, because you must get the dog to understand the picture. And your A-frame, your wall, just make it almost flat. Just go down, before anybody's training or when everybody's done training, and just make it flat so the dog understands to walk over it. But those are the real easy ways to get the dogs to understand those jumps when they're low, because you can correct them and you can repeat it countless times without risk. Even with a 1 or 2 or 3-year-old dog, you don't want to keep jumping because there's still impact, whether it's really hard on them or not. It's still impact. You don't want to keep doing it. But yeah, for sure. Even if the dog was 4, 5, 6 months old, I would have him jumping, but I would have him jumping very low things. Like you had Dwayne jumping early on, right? Like those low jumps, jumping.
He was about a year before he jumped over 8 inches.
Yeah, but he was jumping 8 inches early on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 8 inches. Yeah, 8 inches, you can have him jumping really early on. So, Rick, I have an 11-month-old German Shepherd that barks insanely when anyone comes over. How do I get her not to bark like that? Well, you get her used to people coming over. Put her in a crate, cover the crate, ignore her when she's barking. That's it. You got to get used to it. If not, you're going to have a dog that's going to. In other words, if the behavior is left unchecked, it will continue to grow like a weed. Antelope Rave. I'm trying not to repeat questions. If you've asked a question, I would beg you to not ask another question, because I'm trying to. I used to do this. I used to put the questions up there. I got to keep doing it. I got to do that again. There's so many people in here. There's 190 people in here. So I want to get to as many questions as I can, but if I see you've asked a question, I'm going to probably go over it. Antelope. 5-year-old lab is way too hyper about mealtime. She will launch herself downstairs every morning, jump, spins, and pants. She's well behaved every other time. Antelope, this is a Labrador Retriever. This is exactly what Jimmy's 11 years old, okay? He does the same thing. You got a Labrador. Labradors love food. Yeah, but we make them do, like Janet kind of takes the reins here and takes the dogs outside, and they have to sit in their place. So you can do something like that. But just the fact that he's always going to be, hungry. Okay, Petkov. What is your advice on correcting behavior you can see? Example, a dog may pick up trash, chew on a shoe when we are out of sight. He hides when we are about to discover the evidence. Janet has something to say.
I think it means that you can't see. I read that twice.
Okay. Well, if I can see it, I stop it. But if I can't see it, I can't stop it, right? So if I catch the dog and he's already in the trash or carrying the shoe, I'll say, hey, knock it off. I start to prevent it. I start to look at ways to prevent it. Like Dwayne likes to take napkins. Janet has beautiful cloth napkins which I never had as a bachelor, by the way. I never used a napkin in my life. Paper towels, and I rip them in half because it was cheaper. I would do that. But if you can prevent it, put them away. Don't let them get it. It's always going to be easier, because once the dog starts doing it, it becomes fulfilling, and he's going to keep doing it. So you want to kind of prevent that. I hope that's what you meant. Some trainers say forever. What do you do? Don't listen to those trainers. Nessa. You say the only time to correct a puppy is for aggression, but you can also give a correction for the leave it command. My puppy wants to pick up acorns. Well, you then correct them. But I'm saying I'm not correcting for behaviors until the dog knows what I want. right? In other words, if I tell the dog down and he sits and he's making a mistake and I know he doesn't really know it yet, I'm not going to correct him. I'm going to redirect him back into it. So, okay. Okay, Nino, I already gave you a question. Okay, Gil. I'm going to answer this question, Gil, but I've already answered it for somebody else. So I hope you listen to these things. Okay, and you just wrote on me that you remember, so I'm going to give you this one. The best way to teach my 18-week-old German Shepherd to not jump on visitors and my 8-year-old daughter. I tried telling him no and praise him when he doesn't jump. I also teach my daughter not to push back. So, okay, you teach your daughter to not push back. Okay, so here's a couple things. One, you need two things. One is if you're a member of my site, come to the 11 o'clock chat. Just listen here and save your question, because the 11 o'clock chat, I've always got tons of time. This one I always run out, and it's not fair to everybody. But here's the question, the answer to your question. If the dog is jumping on people, you need to prevent the behavior, right? In other words, you don't want to necessarily correct the behavior, because that's one thing, because it's still rewarding to the dog. The dog is still getting an interaction out of you, because 90% of owners, pet owners, will not correct their dog with enough vigor to get the dog to understand it's a correction. They get it to see it's an interaction. You want to make sure, put the dog on a leash. You know, put the leash down and step on the part of the leash. I got a video coming up on this in the next couple of weeks with a dog that I trained. Step on that leash when he goes to jump. You're standing on a leash. He can't jump. He's automatically corrected. Prevent the behavior, and it'll be a lot better. Cass, do you deal with reactivity differently from if it's from frustration instead of fear? Most content advice I've found is about fear reactivity. I can't find much for frustrated greeters like mine. Well, yeah, but fear is not usually expressed, I should say, in the way that frustration is. Frustration is a proactive, it's a forward, it's a pushy behavior, where fear is a regressive, moving away type of a behavior. So, yeah, of course, I deal with them very, very differently. Looking through here for names I don't recognize. Chris, I'm going to give you this one, but you don't have a question. You don't have a question mark, I should say. The breeder of our Malinois 6-month-old now tells us he should not be climbing stairs till he's a year old. Your thoughts, please. What the breeder's concerned about is not necessarily climbing the stairs, but coming down the stairs, because obviously the dog climbs the stairs, he has to come down the stairs. You know, if you live in a house that has stairs, you're not going to not do that. So what I would do is try to supervise the dog, because we had Dwayne, our Labrador, climbing stairs from the time he was 8 weeks old. You know, we didn't let him race down the stairs or race up the stairs. That's when dogs are going to get hurt. But there's nothing you're going to do, you know, about it if you live in a house with stairs. That's it. I mean, people with stairs have dogs and they have puppies, so it's ideal, but it's not going to happen. Just supervise the dog. Had any problems with leash laws? Both my dogs, she. You didn't finish your question? I can't answer it. Alfred says, my trainer wants me to correct my dog when we are heeling, walking, and her ear passes my knee. Is he being unfair? You know, yeah, I mean, a casual leash walk, the dog should walk on a loose leash, right? I think a body length in front or a body length behind is acceptable on a loose leash walk. I think if you overcorrect the dog, you just make the walk less fun. Maybe he's trying to get you to understand like the basics of a focus heel or something like that, or like a competition style heel where the dog should stay next to you. But for a loose leash walk, I think it's excessive personally. Mary, how to get my 8-month-old German Shepherd to stop lunging and going crazy when she sees another dog. Example, walking through the neighborhood she wants to play with. So Jan and I were just talking about this last night, so I'm so glad you said this. And the issue was, I had a dog, a lady and a dog, Cora, a really nice German Shepherd, and the woman's pregnant. I was going to say they're pregnant. The husband is not pregnant, but the husband probably had something to do with her being pregnant. And they got a German Shepherd, and he would lunge at other dogs. So your thought process, Mary, and I'm going to kind of play psychic for you, is you probably got a dog that would protect you or be protective, which a German Shepherd naturally is very protective. The natural way a dog protects is to bark or to scare away other dogs or other people. So you've got a dog whose natural inclination is to protect you. The dog is acting on the natural inclination that you got them for. And now you're asking me how to undo the dog's natural inclination. Right? So, and I'm not poking fun at you, I'm just pointing this out because this is something that so many people do. They get a dog that has a certain behavior, it's a characteristic, it's a guarding breed. And then they want to know how to undo that. Well, you have to understand that the dog is doing it because that's their instinct, that's their drive. So the only way you're going to counter that is to take over that position from your dog. That means you're going to protect your dog. That means you're going to be more dominant than your dog, you're going to be more assertive than your dog, and you're going to control your dog. So the minute the dog does something like barge, hey, sit, and the dog gets off the sit, no, sit, and you're going to assume that dominant role. And that's the only really way you're ever going to do it. Okay, Nikamal Dada. What size Herm Springer pinch collar would you suggest for an 11-month-old German Shepherd, 72 pounds? Started to swerve sideways on the grass on the roadside, has started sniffing while pulling. Well, all you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get yourself a 2.25 millimeter Herm Springer, and you're going to need to use a backup. You must have a backup, and you're going to need to get extra links to make it fit. That's it. You know, Craig, yeah, several people have said I look like Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap, but I don't know who Sam Beckett is. You got to watch. Yeah, I don't know who he is personally, but that's very funny. Thank you. I'm assuming he's incredibly handsome. Okay, MJ Parada. MJ Parada. Afternoon, Mr. Cabral. My 6-month-old German Shepherd Max has reverted back to biting tons. He already changed to adult teeth. Any tips besides redirecting and understanding dogs communicate? Well, you know, he's being playful more than likely. So what you're facing is a dog that's trying to engage you in a game. And if you let him engage you, then he's going to do that. So what you need to focus on is assuming the position of we're not going to play. When he does that, he gets put in a crate. When he comes out, and this is going to go from now till about 18 months. So when he, you know, have him occupied or confined so that when he comes out that you can play with him and be doing something. He's probably doing that to get you to do something. That's the way I would attack that. I love this. I'm going to put this up here, Harshy. Harshy the free running rabbit. Not true. Been to dog parks with my dog for 11 years. Never had problems.
Yeah, there's a little debate going on about the dog parks.
Well, listen, if you want to take your dogs to a dog park, then do it. I don't care. It's not my dog, right? But if you're coming here and you're asking me, I've trained and handled more dogs than most people you'll ever meet in your life. I'm the guy who put 17 pit bulls together in the shelter in Los Angeles and did play groups. And I did it and never had one dog bite, never one. But I'm telling you that if I care about my dog, I will never take my dog to a dog park. Never. If anybody asks my advice, you're coming here for my advice. You're coming here to a person who is giving advice for free, right? And advice that's worth a lot because I'm very knowledgeable on the topic. There's nobody who knows more about this topic than me. And I'm not saying that in a very egotistical way, but I know that. I know where my strengths are. I know I'm not a great guitar player, but I know I'm a great dog trainer. I'm telling you, you're making a mistake. Now, you could have gone there for 11 years, and people, you know, have told me, well, I've gone for 20 years and never seen a problem. And then suddenly the dog gets attacked. Now, if you've been to dog parks for 11 years and you've never seen a problem at that dog park, then it's a miracle. But I still stand to my position that I would never take my dog to a dog park. Okay. Chris, I know you've asked questions before. I'm going to give you this one anyway. Any good tips for focus heel treats? What meats, raw freezer? For focus healing, I would use hot dogs, like the whole hot dog, or string cheese. Okay, Evan, you must have tuned in late because you don't have question marks on your. I'm going to put a little text up here that says must have question mark. Nobody ever listens to it. Evan Yaj, love your videos. However, my dog's almost 5 months and still nips my hands when I go to pet. Put a leash on. How do I stop him? Where is it normal? This is totally normal. This is a puppy. Not a big deal. Jenna, I do not like the plastic prongs. I don't think any dog is that sensitive personally. You're not leaving the prong on all the time, but I don't like plastic prongs. I don't believe in it. But if you want to try them, try them. Christine Marsh, I'm training my 14-month Labradoodle to hold, but he wants to chew or acts crazy. He will hold his toys on his own. I hold his jaws in a gentle way, but he doesn't like it. Any advice? Thank you. It depends what you're asking him to hold. So you can go two ways. You can go, if he's chewing like he would do on a dowel, because he's getting satisfaction out of it because he's piercing the wood, then move him over to a piece of PVC pipe and teach him to hold on that. Make sure the dog is on a table. Make sure the dog is up high. Some people on a table will put the dog on like a groomer's type table where they can have the head, have a collar on the dog, and it's controlled. So the dog doesn't bob the head, because when they start bobbing the heads, when they also start chewing. So I would work on changing the texture of what you have, or wrapping something around it, like rope. You can wrap rope around the wood, like a what's that called? A sisal or something like that. Is that rope or something? A jute rope or something like that. Janet just handed me one. Josh Scottman, that's very kind. Thank you for the super chat. I lost my dog of 10 years to cancer last month. Sorry. It was devastating. Felt like someone ripped my heart out. Been watching your grieving video on when you lost Silly, and it's helping process. Just wanted to say thanks. I mean, thank you. It brings tears to my eyes, because I think about our Bosman, I think about Silly, think about my dog Boots. My friend Drew, his dog got diagnosed with cancer, and he just amputated his leg. 15 years old, he just amputated his back leg. He's doing better, and he knows that eventually the dog's going to pass. My friend Kevin just lost one of his dogs. He's just got a new puppy. It's the most terrible cycle we have. This idea, like, I love old dogs. I look at our dogs, like Goofy is laying there right next to Dwayne. Dwayne's the youngest, Goofy's the oldest. And I know that one day I'm going to have to say goodbye to them. And it's the very worst thing about owning a dog. It really is. I'm so sorry for your loss, man. I'm so sorry. What I am glad about is that video has helped so many people. I did it as a cathartic expression of my grief, and a way for me to express myself and get it off of me. And it just has helped so many people. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm glad the video helped. I really am. But you have the power to love again. Jason, yeah, good question. I am going to get another Mally probably next year. I'm probably going to breed Goofy. Chelsea, any advice on submissive peeing? 1-year-old spaniel pees when leaning. Yeah. So I call it piddling. It's a term I coined. It's been used quite a bit since. Piddling, in my opinion, is not peeing, right? It's the dog's getting nervous. So the only way to fix that, and I've done it with a couple dogs, is to completely ignore the dogs when they're excited, right? So if the dog comes running up to me, I ignore them completely, and let them learn that I'm not going to put that pressure on. I'm not going to grab them. I'm not going to do anything, because it's something you're going to have a really hard time fixing if you don't learn to ignore it. Down to the way, Ricardo. And then you got great dogs down here too. Ricardo says, how to use food for training and luring without affecting the dog's diet. First of all, with puppies, puppies eat an immense amount of food. So I don't worry about it as much. But what I would really consider doing with puppies is to portion out their food. So in other words, let's say the dog's going to get 3 cups a day, or let's say 2 cups a day. I would portion that out. 2 cups would go into 2 Ziploc bags. And then I would take a handful out, and I would treat. And even if you use the entire breakfast portion for hand feeding, then just don't feed them breakfast. Or if there's a little bit left, put it in the bowl. Same thing with lunch and dinner. Portion it out. And you don't have to be super scientific about your dog's food. Watch them. If they're gaining weight, you're feeding too much. If they're not gaining weight, feed them a little bit more. Make it more, it's just like how we eat. You're hungry, you eat. I mean, unless you're counting every single calorie, every single gram, every single, gram of protein and fat and stuff like that, which is not really, in my opinion, a healthy way to live, then don't worry about it. Hey, by the way, guys, we're over the 200 number in here. There's 200 people in here watching right now. I want to thank you, by the way, for allowing me to give you this advice. In my practice, I charge a very good chunk of change to go to help people with their dogs. And I decided to do this YouTube thing because I knew that not everybody could afford my hourly rates. So I wanted to give back because I'd been so blessed in my life. And I started to do these free videos on YouTube and these free chats on YouTube. So thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me help you with your dogs. Thank you for letting me give you advice that's going to help your dogs have a better life, because that's what's really it's all about. Thank you for all the thumbs up. For those people who gave me thumbs up, that's very nice. For the one person who gave me a thumbs down, thank you for that too, because everybody's opinion is worth something. Um, it's something, not much, but it's worth something. I'm going to wrap it up here. I got to go into the member section. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of your questions. I thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell. Thank you for your super chats. They're very unnecessary. I appreciate it. Tim, you just gave me a super chat for $4.99. Very, very nice. It means a lot. I don't care that you're giving me super chats. Here's another one. Great Dog super chat, $10. I'll tell you what means a lot to me is that you care enough to express your gratitude. That means the world to me. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Join the member section. If you run over to robertcabral.com right now and join in the next minute, 60 seconds, for the next hour, I'm going to be on another chat here, which is a private address. And I invite you to come there and ask me more questions. I usually have more time in there. They're both 1-hour chats. I thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being here. And I will see you next time. Take care. By the way, robertcabral.com, that's the member section. And go to the description of the video down below. Get one of the t-shirts and save 15% by, what is it, RC15? That's the code, RC15. On my, this is only on the Teespring store, not on the Spreadshop store, only on the Teespring store. You will be richly rewarded. Thanks, I'll see you soon.